Welcome to the 12 Report with Blessings Mosugu, and these are the headlines. Nigerian Senate to screen new service chiefs on Wednesday. New INEC boss talks tough against vote buying ahead of Anambra governorship election. Tanzania's head to polls as ruling party seeks to extend decades of power. And as usual, we have our reporters stationed in different parts of the country. Joshua Imurai, Aisha Saliu, and Idong Joseph are joining from Abuja. Amenze Bazwai joins from Edo State, and we have Mongani Ziba joining from Tanzania. We've got the details in a moment. Let's start off now with the security architecture of the country. The Senate will on Wednesday screen and confirm the nominations of new service chiefs submitted by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Tinubu had, in a letter transmitted to the Senate, asked the lawmakers to confirm the service chiefs. The presidential letter was read during Tuesday's plenary by Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Tinubu had on Friday carried out a major shake-up in the nation's military hierarchy, replacing General Christopher Musa with General Olufemi Oluyede as Chief of Defense Staff. And to the Green Chamber, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has reiterated the commitment of the House to strengthening internal security of the National Assembly aimed at enhancing seamless legislative activities. Tajuddin gave the assurance in Abuja while declaring open a public hearing for an act to provide for the establishment and the functions for a Legislative Security Directorate in the National Assembly, seeking to provide the qualification and conditions of service of the Sergeant at Arms and other personnel in the Directorate and for related matters.
This piece of legislation, if passed, it will enhance, fortify, and provide an enabling environment for the parliament of this very important country, not only to function, but to enable the parliament do their legislative activities, which distinguish democracy and other forms of government.
The National Assembly of Nigeria is going through a lot of security challenges. We have experienced car thefts, motorcycle thefts, vandalism, fake identity cards, unwanted visitors accessing the National Assembly without documentation, petty trading, which makes the National Assembly to look like a small market. We have received threats from terrorists to bomb National Assembly complex and threats from protesters to lock up the National Assembly.
Let's still stay with the Green Chamber. A civil servant with the Federal Ministry of Works has petitioned the House Committee on Public Petitions, alleging corruption and victimization after exposing employment racketeering in the ministry. Our correspondent Idong Joseph joins us live from the National Assembly with more details on this development. Idong Joseph, what update do you have for us from the Green Chamber regarding this?
Good afternoon, Blessings. From the Green Chamber this afternoon, I will tell you that the mood here is one full of anticipation because this hearing itself is going to be commencing by 2 p.m. And the petitioner himself has already appeared before the Committee on Public Petition, waiting for the time for his hearing. Though this civil servant has alleged that in 2019, when he began to raise alarm that there were issues of job racketeering in the Ministry of Works, that from that moment he began to face victimizations by top officials of the ministry. And so for the House to better understand this allegation and also get the response of the ministry, they have sent notice to the to the Ministry of Works for them to come and also speak on their own part of this issue. Unfortunately, I would say unfortunately, for over five notices that has been sent to the ministry, none has been acknowledged. And we hope that today, top officials of the ministry, like the PAMSEC of the ministry and even the minister, are going to appear here. And beyond that, at the House this morning, the Speaker of the House in commencing session this morning read 2 letters from the President, and all regarding the confirmation of the recently appointed service chiefs. And now, like as we speak, the House is supposed to commence screening. The House Committee on Defense is supposed to commence screening on these service chiefs, which have been appointed by the President. And so that's why I said that the mood here is one filled with anticipation, because it is hoped that the Green Chamber is going to confirm this appointment of the President, and also this petitioner is going to get relief for the allegation he raised against him.
All right, Idong Joseph, thank you for the update from the Green Chamber regarding that. Let's go to electoral matters. The Independent National Electoral Commission says vote buying will not determine the outcome of the Anambra governorship election slated for November 8. INEC Chairman Professor Joash Amukpiton San gave the assurance at a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security in Abuja, warning that any attempt to induce voters will attract severe legal consequences. Now, he said INEC is fully prepared for the exercise, addressing minor network glitches observed during the mock accreditation with the upgraded bimodal voter accreditation system. Amukpiton said 24,000 officials will be deployed across 5,718 polling units with enhanced logistics and coordination among security and transport agencies to ensure a peaceful, credible process. In the same development, National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu has cautioned politicians and stakeholders against violence in the coming governorship election, stressing that any act of violence will not be tolerated. Speaking at the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security in Abuja, Ribadu highlighted enhanced intelligence, surveillance, and security deployments to prevent disruptions by destructive elements or desperate politicians. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, announced the deployment of 45,000 officers with pre-election operations starting November 1st. Now, only officially recognized security agencies, including the police, the DSS, NSCDC, and military, will participate. Now, stakeholders in Abuja have gathered for an election reform series focused on strengthening the Independent National Electoral Commission and reimagining electoral integrity in Nigeria. The series aims to identify major challenges experienced during the previous general election and propose alternatives to improve election management and public confidence in the process. We're now joined by my colleague, Joshua Imarai, who is monitoring the discussions. Joshua, from the conversations and the recommendations that have been shared at the forum, do you think that Nigeria is ready for comprehensive electoral reforms before the next general elections, or is it all talks?
Afternoon to you, blessings. The conversation here has not been short of riveting. But as regards that question, I can tell you from the output of some of the stakeholders who are participants of this dialogue, I can tell you for sure that according to what they say, Nigeria is not going to get a leeway than what it experienced during the 2023 general election. That they are saying that a replication of what happened in the previous general election would be seen in the coming election because there are systemic challenges that are actually rocking the election management system in Nigeria, and one of which is the procurement process. Of course, when I mean procurement process, it doesn't rely strictly on the materials or perhaps the goods that are used to ensure an electoral management system moves swiftly, but rather the appointment of officials, particularly the INEC chairman, the resident electoral commissioner, the electoral officers. Now, they are questioning the procurement process. They are saying that most times when we hear that the president is appointing a new INEC chairman, what the security briefing is like is always the box of it stop at the table of the president, and only the president is obliged to get the full details of that information average Nigerians don't really know the background of these individuals. And they are saying that most of these individuals, they found themselves to some sort of political leaning in the past with some of these political players who in turn do the bidding of these political officers as well as political players. They are saying that this issue seems to be a systemic issue that needs to be addressed. And they are saying that for some time now, Nigeria has been conditioned to personalities rather than systems. When I mean personalities, there seems to be so much going around for a fact that a new INEC chairman has been appointed. But for a fact, there seems to be issue, particularly on electoral reforms. They are saying that most times when we hear electoral reforms, that pocket of issues are addressed, not issues, in-depth issues. And most times when we hear that some bills with regards to electoral reforms are being passed, these bills do not take holistic view of the issues and the challenges and address them as appropriate. So these are some of the issues they are raising in this conversation that is ongoing.
Okay, so I think another very pivotal point to note is how can INEC rebuild public trust and ensure greater transparency in future polls? Because already there's a level of distrust by the people, in INEC. And we've talked about the fact that it's not about the person in the position, it's the position itself. People do not feel like INEC is independent anymore. So is there anything that has been said to that regard?
Of course. They are saying that there needs to be more of the independent nature of INEC being materialized. When I mean so that, so like for instance, now when election is being conducted, the mobilization and the transportation of materials, is INEC really independent of the entire process? Because of course, we know that some sort of association is being charged with responsibility of transporting sensitive materials, and sometimes some sort of architecture or perhaps system is being ensured by the government itself to transport this particular sensitive materials. And the question is, these people who are transporting this thing, who do they answer to? Do they answer to the president? Or perhaps do they answer to the INEC? Or is INEC truly independent? When it comes to announcement of results, are they truly independent? Another issue was raised, particularly for those who serve as officiating ministers, during officiating personnel during the election process. When I talk about officiating personnel, this is particularly addressing the professors who are in charge of declaring results and the likes. Now, the question is, they are saying, how knowledgeable are these people beyond the academics of it all? Election management seems to be a different ballgame. How independent is the process? Do they know what they do? And perhaps, what is the process of appointing these professors? Because they are saying that, for instance, that they are seeing some sort of political leanings in the appointment of vice-chancellors of universities. And these vice-chancellors of universities are those who are saddled with the sole responsibility of conducting and announcing election. Now, if the same persons who are rumored to be appointed by some political office holders or perhaps political personnel behind closed door will translate into free and fair election, these are some of the questions that are being raised up in this current conversation. And they are saying that Nigeria needs to do better. There needs to be a streamlined process, because when the conversation actually pinpoints some sort of structural issues, particularly in the process of election conduct, from the top to the bottom, from national level down to the grassroots. Are these streamlined processes that are supposed to be followed to achieve a giving at the end of every electoral cycle? So many of these issues have been raised and addressed. Blessings.
All right. Thank you so much, Joshua Marai, for the update. And we're hoping that all of these plans put together to ease the tension on the forthcoming election would actually yield results. Thank you once again.
A pleasure.
You're still live with us on the 12 Report. We go on a short break now, and when we come back, tension in Ogege after alleged murder in Upper Siloku, Edo State. More stories, do stay tuned. Many thanks for staying with us on the 12 Report. Now to health matters. Efforts to improve the health and survival of mothers and newborns across the region are getting a major boost as the accelerating implementation of maternal, newborn and child nutrition and health project has launched a new regional think tank aimed at advancing life-saving interventions for women and children in Africa. Stakeholders at the launch say that efforts to crash child and maternal mortality rates is necessary and of national importance. Right now, News Central's Aisha Saliu is live at the venue and brings us more details of this. Hello, Aisha. Can you hear me? So we're talking about a very pivotal conversation, and that is efforts to get rid of maternal and even child mortality. What has been the highlight of the conversation so far?
Thank you so much, Blessings. Well, you'll agree with me that the African region, especially Sub-Saharan Africa and Nigeria being part of the Sub-Saharan Africa, still accounts to high maternal mortality rates, and the figures are really skyrocketing. But part of the reasons for this, according to the stakeholders and experts here, that there is the postpartum hemorrhage that always occurs for women who have just put to birth, and they're talking about also hypertensive disorder in the form of eclampsia or preeclampsia. And the other conversation here is that the delay in diagnosis of PPH is one of the major reasons why we still have high mortality rates, high maternal mortality rates. And they also talked about part of the interventions. And so what we used to know in our healthcare facilities, where they're actually to give obstetric and other interventions, but they're saying now that the innovations are that these interventions should come 15 minutes after. It shouldn't be until later when someone suspects that the PPH is probably going to lead to mortality. These interventions should come right in time. And here, well, the inauguration of the regional think tank body now, they're looking at efforts to, scale up and also implement most of these innovations, the emotive intervention, and also the provision of commodities and commodities for the healthcare centers in Nigeria, especially in Nigeria, and the training of healthcare experts, just so that they can give this services, this intervention services to mothers who have come to access healthcare services at the healthcare facility.
All right, Aisha Saliu, thank you for the update on that. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has dismissed reports of a promotional scandal within the police force, describing the allegations as fabrications aimed at discrediting the police and distracting the force from its effort in combating crime. Egbetokun gave the clarification during the decoration of 19 recently promoted senior officers, saying that promotions under his leadership are based on merit and are transparent. He tasked the newly promoted officers to see their promotion as a call to more responsibility and to service.
Recent months have witnessed attempts by certain mischief makers to cast shadows on the credibility of our promotion process, particularly the accelerated promotion exercise conducted a few months ago. But truth stands taller than rumors. The Nigerian police force has nothing to hide and nothing to defend. Every promotion exercise conducted under this administration, including the accelerated promotion exercise, has followed due process, transparent, merit-based, and in strict conformity with established standards.
Let's go now to Edo State, where tension is high in Ogege community along Upper Siluko Road, following the alleged murder of a young man identified as Chiboy, a resident of the area. The residents have taken to the streets in protest over what they describe as repeated and senseless killings by suspected hoodlums. And right now, my colleague, News Central's Amenze Bazwaye, who is live at the scene, reports that there is a heavy presence of security operatives from the Nigeria Police Force to prevent any further breakdown of law and order. She'll be giving us more details. Amenze, what more can you tell us about the circumstances surrounding Chiboy's death and the mood among the residents there?
Currently, this area is quite tense. A lot of persons are upset, a lot of persons are angry. They say that the suspected hoodlums are persons who have repeatedly carried out killings of their community members and do not want this to continue any longer. A lot of youth have come out this morning. Very early in the morning, they came out protesting and calling on the federal government, the state government, and of course, security to put to their aid, and of course, try to see how security can be restored to this place. We could not go quite into because there's tension there. At some point, we were driven away, let me put it like that, probably because they are angry. We say the person who died, who died as a boy, someone who is quite popular in the community, and so his it's quite both old and young. We spoke to some security personnel. We actually spoke to the head of the team that is here stationed, and he says we should leave the area first because they were firing tear gas to try to disperse the crowd, because a lot of them became quite violent at some point, destroying properties suspected to be belong to those who they suspect are ones that actually took the life of that young man. Like I said, tension is quite high here. We've not gotten a lot of details, but what I can confirm is the fact that it was actually some sort of fracas that happened between the deceased and, of course, the person who actually stabbed him. They had some issues, and of course, when he tried to separate the fight, the next thing was gunshots and, of course, fire, knife to his chest, basically. And unfortunately, he lost his life. We spoke to his sister earlier. She refused to speak on camera. She was quite upset. She was crying, saying that's the only hope she has. He is the only hope she has, basically. We'll try to bring more details. I cannot say everything here because, of course, investigation is still ongoing by police officers. They are back there. I'll probably give you some video clips of that much later in the day. But for now, that is all I can say. The tension here, definitely. The youth in the area, the residents in the area are saying no to violence, no to killings, especially by those particular persons who they identify as the suspects that carried out that issue.
All right, Menze Bazwai, thank you for the update. It's quite a sad situation, and just like you said, the people of that area are angry, and we're hoping that there's no more violence and this doesn't escalate into something uncontrollable. Thank you for the update. Residents of various communities in Borno State have called on the state government to prioritize the establishment of schools and safe spaces for survivors of gender-based violence in the 2026 budget. Speaking during a budget town hall meeting, which held in Maiduguri, several community leaders and civil society representatives say that this will enhance improved access to education and social protection for vulnerable groups. News Central's Umoru Kirawa completes the report.
And women groups, traditional and religious leaders, among other stakeholders from different communities in Borno State, converged for the 2026 budget town hall meeting at the Musa Usman International Conference Hall in Maiduguri. They urged the government to allocate more funds to education and community development, noting that access to water, schools and safer learning environments remain key to sustainable peace in post-conflict Borno.
In Allah ya kai mu 2026 muna neman alfarma a taimaka a gina mana hanya saboda inda muna ya zo korani ba mu da hanya mai kyau na shiga musari, and then kuma ba mu da makarantu. Muna so a ba mu a sa mana hannu a ya zama law, a sa mana commission namu. Commission shi yake da dama kowane ayyuka na cikin jihar Borno a wanda masu bukata suke so, akwai commission abun ya wadata.
Road safety advocates raised concerns over frequent trailer-related accidents in Maiduguri due to the absence of designated parking zones for heavy-duty vehicles.
Muna da bukatar trailer park a gyara domin shigowar manyan motoci cikin Maiduguri, bisa ga kuma an yi express, an gyaggyara hanyoyi sun yi matsi, suna kashe mutane, ana samun hadari.
Women's rights advocates also present urged government to provide rehabilitation facilities for survivors of gender-based violence, saying that many GBV survivors continue to face stigmatization and trauma.
There's the need for us, the Borno State government, to own its own safe space, just like the Lagos State. They have the Marble Center, where all facilities is being given to survivors of gender-based violence in Lagos. You have training, you have the medical part, you have everything that encompasses for the survivors of GBV.
Those selling pure water, those selling minerals, without full electricity, the business will be down. So I also will appreciate if there will be increment or improvement in electricity.
Officials from the Budget Ministry assured that the government will consider the recommendations as part of its 2026 capital project and initiatives for inclusivity and development of the state. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
In Plateau State, the state governor, Caleb Mutfwang, has urged the new state chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Raymond Devor, to ensure the stability and the unity of the party ahead of the 2027 general elections. The governor was speaking after the state congress of the PDP in Jos, the state capital, where party leaders and faithful had converged to elect new executives of the party. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe has more.
The crisis in the Plateau State People's Democratic Party robbed the party of fielding candidates in the last state elections. A court of appeal had described the PDP as not having structure, not being able to legally field candidates to participate in elections in the country. The decision of the court invalidated already won elections by the state chapter of the party in 2023. After the recently conducted state congress to elect officers that will lead the party through the 2027 general elections, the state governor, Caleb Mutfwang, urged the new chairman to ensure stability and unity in the party.
I want you to know that your first job is to unite the party. Your first job is to make sure that all the divisions in the party within your own area of jurisdiction, that you must do everything to bring people together. The time of exclusion is over. At this time, there is a shaking going on. A shaking must take place, and those who do not belong, they will go.
The outgone chairman of the party expressed delight over the election process, saying he is confident of the ability of the new executives.
But there's no office that is going to be contested. You are here today for the purposes of the journey that we have come and associate ourselves and of course identify with this. In this 39 ESCO are going to be sworn in, are going to pass through the process of election, and by the grace of God, will become ESCO that will take us through this government.
The new chairman and fellow executives, while taking their oath of office in the presence of INEC officials and representatives from the national headquarters, promised not to fail the party.
This new ESCO will provide a transparent